Hello viewers, welcome back to English with BDM. In this second video on the chart, I'm going to discuss the rules of making negative statements, that is negative declarative sentences and questions. But before that, let us look at some of the features of the chart. To make a correct sentence, we have to arrive at a particular box, particular space where we will get the detailed structure, that is the different forms of the same common structure, different forms of the same basic common structure. And to arrive at that particular box, we have first to consider the time. If we move rightward from present, we will get all the spaces, all the boxes for the present time. From past to rightward, the whole row is for the past time. And from the future rightward, all the boxes are meant for the future. And in these columns, the whole space, the two columns are meant for the simple aspect. These two are for the continuous aspect. These two for the perfect aspect, and this one for perfect continuous aspect. And each aspect except the perfect continuous, we have got the active voice forms and the passive voice forms. Active voice and passive voice, both the active and passive are continuous, but the structures are different in the two voice forms. So to write a correct sentence, first calculate the tense and the voice correctly. Find out the required box and notice the detailed structures. Select one depending on the person and number of the subject. I advise you to memorize the chart just like your own name, that you can remember the required form instantly. Because when we write or speak, we cannot take long time to make calculations of the voice and the tense and the number and the person. All these things have to be done instantly. As we speak in our mother tongue, we don't think of grammar, but the sentences are mostly on the whole correct. Now let us discuss the rules of making negative and interrogative sentences. To make a negative sentence, we just put the adverb not after the helping verb. Where there is one helping verb, we put not after that. Where there are two or three, in this column we have two helping verbs, and in the future we have three. We put the not after the first helping verb. So we say the child is not sleeping. The child is sleeping. The child is not sleeping. The boys have been playing cricket. The boys have not been playing cricket. The book was returned. The book was returned to the library last week. The book was not returned to the library last week. That's the simple method you know. Now, in these two voice tense combinations, that is the present simple and the past simple active voice, there is no helping verb in the original structure. We know that in the present simple tense active voice, we have the present form after the subject, that is subject doer. You know, in the active voice, the subject is invariably the doer, and in the passive voice, the subject is invariably the recipient, that is the original object, or the patient of the verb, a transitive verb. Now, in the past tense too, past simple tense active voice, we use the past tense form after the subject to make a declarative sentence. To make negative sentences in these two voice tense combinations, we use these alternative structures, do present form, does present form, and did present form, and then place the not after the helping verb. Did not. I saw the man in the crowd. I saw the man in the crowd, past form. I did not see the man in the crowd. Now, you have to bear in mind that when we make a negative sentence by using the alternative structure, we must replace the past form in the normal structure with the present form, because we cannot use any other form except the present form after the helping verb do, does, or did. Now, to make questions, we place the helping verb in front of the subject, that is, we shift the helping verb before the subject. Is the child sleeping now? Has the book been returned to the library? Notice that where there are 2 or 3 helping verbs, as in this case, has the book been returned to the library? Has been returned. Has the book been returned? We place the subject after the first helping verb. Where there are 2 or 3 helping verbs, we place only the first helping verb before the subject to make a question. But in these 2 voice tense combinations, as there is no helping verb in the original structure, the main structure, we again use the helping do, the standby helping verb do, to perform these functions, to make negative sentences and to form questions. I saw the man in the crowd, normal structure. Did you see the man in the crowd? Alternative structure. My mother prepares breakfast for us. Does your mother prepare breakfast for you? Does your mother prepare breakfast for you? The boys have already returned from the playground. The boys have already returned from the playground. Have the boys returned from the playground? So that is the simple method of making negative statements and questions. But these alternative structures have another special use, a third use. The first 2 are to make negative statements and questions, and the third one is to lay emphasis on the verb. To lay emphasis on the verb. We can lay emphasis on the verb in any of the voice tense combinations by using adverbs that express emphasis. Adverbs like certainly, surely, definitely, really, etc. So we can make a sentence. I surely returned your book. I surely returned your book. We can give this emphasis by using the alternative structure. So we can write the same sentence. I did return your book. I did return your book. The 2 sentences mean the same. Here we have given the emphasis by using the adverb surely, and here we have given the emphasis by using the alternative structure, that is by taking the help of the helping verb do. Only the helping do has that special capacity to lay emphasis on the main verb. In case of all other structures, we lay the emphasis, if we require to lay emphasis, by using adverbs like surely, certainly, really, definitely, etc. Now, if we want to change the voice of such sentences from active to passive, what should we do? The passive form is always fixed. There is no alternative structure. We cannot change the structure of any of the voice tense combinations. Only in these 2 we have alternative structures, because in the original form, original structure, there is no helping verb. And to make negative sentences and questions, we need helping verb. And all these 4 structures have helping verbs. These 2 do not. So we take the help of these alternative structures, which are formed by using the helping verb do, that is do, does, and did. Now, when we write a sentence in the passive voice, the structures are fixed. We cannot change them. We can use the 2 forms, either of the 2 forms of the helping verb or the 3 forms of the helping verb be, but we cannot use have instead of be or be in place of have. All the structures, notice the basic structures. we cannot change them. We cannot drop the helping verb. We cannot change the participle. They must remain. Only be or have. Be and have take their forms meant for the present and for the past. And for the future, these basic structures do not change. They remain the same. Only we add shall or will to it to use the structures in the future. Now, when we make the sentences in the passive voice, these sentences are in the simple past tense, active voice. Return normal structure, did return alternative structure. The two are of the same tense and the same voice. Now the passive is fixed. We must use amija and then past participle of the main verb. So the passive form would be, your book was. If you change the voice of this sentence, we must retain the adverb surely. Your book was surely returned by me. Your book was surely returned by me. Now, what about this sentence? I hope you have already understood that we cannot retain the helping verb do. That is, do, does and did in the passive voice. Do is a standby helping verb and it cannot be used in combination with, along with any other helping verb. It is a lone helping verb used for special purposes only, not to make normal sentences. We do not use do. We use do in the alternative structures to form negative sentences and questions and to lay emphasis on the verb, that is the ordinary verb or the main verb. So, if we change the voice of this sentence, the answer will be the same. Your book was surely returned by me. Because when we drop the helping verb, and we have to drop it, we use the helping verb was meant for the passive voice in the simple past tense. Then to retain the emphasis, we must use some such adverb surely, definitely, obviously, really, certainly, etc. Now, one more point about interrogative sentences, questions. The questions that we make by placing the helping verb before the subject demands the answer either yes or no. Did you see me in the crowd? The answer must be yes, I did, that is, I saw you, or no, I didn't, that is, I did not see you. But there are many questions that demand different answers, sometimes about the place of the occurrence of the action, sometimes the time of the occurrence of the actions, the method, the reason, the purpose, etc. Then we make questions in the same way by placing the helping verb or the first one before the subject, and then before that we place the question word. When? If I want to know the time, I must use this question word, which is an adverb, and place it at the beginning of the question, and then as usual the helping verb. When did you return from office? When did you return from office? If we don't use this question word, it would mean that I do not know whether you returned or not. But when I add this question word, I'm sure you returned, but I do not know when you returned. So my question is, when did you return from office? The rule is the same. We place the helping verb before the subject. I've used did because our tense is simple past active voice. We can use the same in the future. When will you return from office? We can use any voice tense combination to make questions. And we can use these question words like when, where, how, where, why, who, whom, whose, etc. But one thing, the answers of such questions are always added as adjuncts to the last portion of the predicate. I returned from office at 5 p.m. I returned from office at 5 p.m. So these are all adverbials and their answers are adverbials or adjuncts, and they are always placed as extension of the predicate at the end of the predicate. But when the question is about the subject, when the answer is the subject, the rule is different. We cannot use these alternative structures as I have done here. When did you return from office? The verb form, original structure, does not change. And we cannot shift the helping verb before the subject because the question word then itself is the subject. Who took my grammar book? Who took my grammar book? Notice that it is the past simple tense active voice, but we cannot use this alternative structure because here the answer to the question word is the subject. Naveen took my grammar book. So when the answer is the subject, the question word itself is also the subject. And in such cases, we cannot change the structure, the original structure of the verb. Neither can we shift any helping verb in front of the subject. We cannot say, who did take my grammar book or did who take my grammar book. That will be wrong. So when the question is about the subject word, the question word is the subject and the answer is the subject. We cannot change the basic structure in these two voice tense combinations. Neither can we shift. We do not need to shift and we must not shift any helping verb before the subject. That is all about grammar today. From the next video, I'll be discussing the uses of the different structures, that is the different tenses according to their functions. We know that the primary use, the main use of a tense is indicated by the name. For example, present continuous. We have two words, at least two words in the name of every specific tense. Present continuous, present perfect, present simple, etc. This combined name, the first word indicates the time, expresses the time, and the second word expresses the aspect. And when these two combine, time and aspect, we get the specific tense, and then we choose one according to the voice. This name shows the main use, the primary use of a tense. But some tenses are also used for different other purposes, other than the name shows, that I will be discussing in some videos in the future. And for today, thank you. To get early notification of the latest videos, please subscribe to the channel. And if you think the lessons are useful to the young learners, please share the videos with them.